Alright, today we're going to finish off chapter 6 on rational equations, and we're going to look at doing some problem solving. Today's problem starts out with example 3. Two friends share a paper route. Sheena can deliver the papers in 40 minutes. Jeff can deliver or cover the same route in 50 minutes. How long to the nearest minute does the paper route take if they work together? Well, we're going to set up a chart. And in our chart, we're going to say Sheena, Jeff, and together. In the first column, we're going to put the time in minutes that it's going to take them. Sheena takes 40, Jeff takes 50. Together, we don't know, that's T. That's what we're going to try to find. Now, we're going to shave this down now to 1 minute. How far or how much can they complete in 1 minute? Sheena, if she can complete it in 40 minutes, in 1 minute she would finish 1/40th. Jeff would finish 1/50th, and together they get 1 T of it. Now we're going to multiply by T to figure out how long it's going to take if we do it in T minutes. Well, if we go 1/40 times T, that's T over 40. Next one, 1/50 times T is T over 50, and 1/T times T is T over T, which is 1. So together it would be 1 job. Altogether now we have an equation. If we look at our last column, T over 40 plus T over 50 has to add up to 1. There's our equation. And we're going to multiply both sides by our common denominator, which must be, well, 40 and 50 both go into 200. So if multiply everything by 200, you're going to get 200t divided by 40, which is 5t, 200t divided by 50, which is 4t, and 200 times 1, which is 200. Simplifying, 9t is equal to 200. Divide both sides by 9. T is 200 divided by 9, or 22.2 minutes. It will take them 22.2 minutes if they work together. In our last example, example 4, it says the Northern Manitoba Trappers Festival, held in the Pas, originated in 1916. The championship race has always been a significant part of the festivities. In the early days, the race was non-stop from the Pas to Flin Flon and back. In one particular race, the total distance was 140 miles. Conditions were excellent on the way to Flin Flon. However, bad weather caused the winner's average speed to decrease by 6 miles per hour on the return trip. The total time for the trip was 8.5 hours, and what was the winning dog team's average speed on the way to Flin Flon? Alright, well this is a distance, speed, and time problem. Its distance is equal to speed times time. So we're going to set up a chart, and we know that this is a distance is equal to speed times time problem. If we divide our equation by S, you're going to end up with T is equal to D divided by S. Or if we divide both sides by T, you're going to find that S is equal to D times T. So we have our distance equals speed times time equation in 3 different forms. We're going to use one of those forms in our problem. If we set up our chart with distance, speed, and time, we have the distance from the speed and distance from Pas to Flin Flon, and we've got Flin Flon back to the Pas. First of all, let's figure out what D's are. We have a 140-mile trip, so that must mean going halfway there must be 70, and 70 miles coming back. The speed, we don't know. We're going to call that S. Total first, 140. The speed going there, we don't know. We're going to call that S. The speed coming back is going to be 6 miles per hour slower. So that's just going to be s minus 6. There's no total, so we'll leave that blank. We're going to go over to time. Well, remember that our equation above, time is distance divided by speed, is how we're going to fill out this last box. So distance divided by speed would be 70 divided by s. And the next one would be 70 divided by s minus 6. And the total time, we are told in our question, is 8.5 hours. This last column is going to allow us to put together an equation. We now have 70 over s plus 70 over s minus 6 has to equal 8.5. Now what we're going to do is solve this equation. We have an s and an s minus 6 in the denominator, so we're going to times by our common denominator of s times s minus 6. So everything on both sides has to be times by s minus 6 times s. Now we can cancel. In the first fraction, we can cancel the two s's and get 70 times s minus 6. In the second fraction, we can cancel the s minus 6 on the bottom with an s minus 6 on the top, and that'll be 70s. And lastly, there's nothing to cancel, so you get 8.5s times s minus 6. Now we got to clean it all up and solve our equation. That'll be 70s minus 6 times 70, it's minus 420, plus 70s equals 8.5s times s, which is 8.5s squared, minus 8.5s times 6, which is minus 51s. Now, to bring everything over to one side, I am first of all going to, well, I've got 8.5s squared. So the next thing I'm going to do, let's clean up. 70s plus 70s is 140s squared. There we go. Now, we're going to subtract 140s from both sides to leave us with 8.5s squared minus 191s. And then we're going to add 420 to both sides. And we're going to get a quadratic equation. Now, I've got a decimal in there. I want to get rid of that, so I'm going to times everything by 2. And what that leaves me with is a very messy looking quadratic equation with all whole numbers. That's fine. So, is it factorable? Maybe, but I'm not going to spend the time trying to figure it out. It's a lot easier to use the quadratic equation, plug in my values for a, b, and c, and see what my solutions could be. So that's where we're going to start. Negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a is simply going to be negative of b is the negative of negative 382. So I got positive 382 plus or minus negative 382 squared minus 4 times 17 times 840, all divided by 2 times 17. If we clean up what's underneath the square root sign first, we're going to end up with 382 plus or minus 298 over 34. Aren't we lucky? It all cleaned up very nicely. So that gives us two possible solutions. 382 minus 298. And what does that leave us with? 84 over 34. And that gives us 2.6. Now, 2.6, is that our winning time on the way there? Maybe, but when I figure out what my speed on the way back is, s minus 6, I now have a negative speed. So that means that this is an erroneous answer, and I can throw it out. Secondly, I have 382 plus 298 over 34. Add them together, I get 680 over 34, which is 20. So if you checked your work and see that 20 miles an hour on the way there and 14 miles an hour on the way back is working, so we can say that the winning speed on the way to Flin Flon was 20 miles per hour. Your assignment is to do page 348, numbers 5, 8, 9, 11, 12, 14, and 15.